This is the convention speech, the director's convention speech for the 2013 annual convention. For more than 80 years, the Wisconsin State Employees Union has been fighting and winning for Wisconsin workers. We've won historic victories that have bettered the lives of countless workers and their families. We're talking about lasting victories, groundbreaking reforms, strong enough to withstand even the carpet-bombing blitzkrieg of the past couple of years. Just think for a moment about the Wisconsin retirement system. As you know, one of our founders, Roy Kubista, helped draft the state pension plan back in 1943. That system has gone on to become a nationally recognized leader. Today it stands out as one of the only fully funded public retirement systems in the entire country. It's so strong and so well regarded that even Scott Walker and his minions haven't been able to touch it. But that won't stop them from trying. Their disdain for anything that helps public employees should never be underestimated. We need to be vigilant, defending the pensions we've earned, and protecting retirement security for those who come after us. It's a powerful reminder of why we need to stick together. The Wisconsin retirement system has meant dignified and fulfilling retirements for tens of thousands of public workers. And the promise of a dignified, secure retirement has helped state and local governments attract and retain the best and brightest employees. This has paid off handsomely for the people of Wisconsin. Our state has enjoyed decades of superior quality public services as a result of hiring superior quality public service employees. That's the Wisconsin way. Brother Kubista understood the link between empowering employees and improving the quality of services and the quality of life for everyone. He served our international union in its early days, and he served as the executive director of this very council. Of course, he didn't just focus on retirement security. He also helped win the 40-hour work week for state employees, and he negotiated the first state employee cost of living bonus in the country. As I said at the beginning of these remarks, we've won some big victories that have changed the state and nation forever. But for as much as a great leader like Roy Kubista meant to our movement, we can't lose sight of where their power came from and where our ability to fight back comes from today. It's true, Roy Kubista had vision, and he had the ability to bring people together in a way that put shape and substance to the dream of a dignified retirement for all. But after both houses of the legislature passed the original pension law, that dream hit a brick wall. Some of you have heard the story about what happened next, but I think it's worth repeating. The bill had passed, the dream was within reach, but then Governor Walter Goodland decided that he knew better, and he vetoed the bill. Nobody expected what happened next. Governor Goodland found himself on the receiving end of a lecture from an old woman with a mop in one hand and a pail in the other. Ingeborg Sidewell was pushing 80 years old. For 27 years, she'd been pushing that mop, scrubbing the floors in the state capitol. When she heard what Governor Goodland had done, she went right up to him and told him that she was too old to continue to scrub the floors of the capitol. The retirement law he had vetoed was absolutely necessary. In an interview with the Wisconsin State Employee magazine in 1943, when asked what her motivation was, Ingeborg said, "I guess I'm just stubborn like all Norwegians." No, she wasn't stubborn. She had the courage of her convictions, and that courage was nourished by the knowledge that she didn't stand alone. By her side was 71-year-old Catherine Conlon, and unseen behind them, hundreds of the other hardworking people who made it possible for Governor Goodland and other elected officials to work in clean and safe surroundings. The lesson here is that Sisters Sidewell and Conlin and the countless others like them who fought for fundamental fairness did it without the security of any legal standing. They had no bargaining law to back them up. They had no due process. That governor could have sent them packing, and there was nothing that they could do to stop that. But he didn't send them packing. He asked the legislature to resubmit the bill to him, and this time he signed it. Now, the governor we're stuck with would like to take us back to the Gilded Age, back before Walter Goodland had a change of heart, back before unions had begun winning a voice for workers. He wants us to take us back to a time when factories doubled as killing floors and robber barons ravaged the landscape and stripped the forests bare. Scott Walker has been doing all he can to drag us back and drag us down. He and his wealthy patrons and faithful minions want to make us think that there's nothing they can do about it, or nothing that we can do about it. Sure, for the moment, with a rubber stamp legislature fulfilling his every evil wish, Walker's been able to do terrible damage to our state and its tradition. Assuring that workers could make a decent living and provide their children with hope and opportunity, that used to be the Wisconsin way, but not in the Walker world. Our fight to uphold the Wisconsin way and to give employees a real voice in the workplace has run into the most cynical and mean-spirited Wisconsin politician in decades. But as you've heard me say many times before, all politicians come and go. We've been here before them, and we will be here long after them. It may seem like the bad guys have won, and there's nothing left for us to do. But don't believe that for a minute. Ingeborg Sidewell didn't believe it. She didn't believe it when she saw her dream of finally getting to rest her aching knees come crashing down. And for the moment, we may not have the bargaining rights we did just a few years ago, but we still have much more to work with than Ingeborg and her coworkers ever dreamed of. For one thing, Wisconsin is not the island it was when we took the first steps of this long struggle. The union that we started right here now stands proudly at 1.6 million strong and reaches from shore to shore. We saw what that meant when Walker dropped his bomb on us. Our union and brothers and sisters rushed to stand with us. AFSCME International poured people and resources into the fight, and the fact is, they have never left. We've seen waves of AFSCME staffers and organizers come and help us rebuild our strength, not to mention our fellow members who rushed from around the country to stand with us. Our international brothers and sisters have put political resources at our disposal that allow us to punch well above our size. And while we clearly have not won them all, we've won some big political victories. Who would have thought that we would send Tammy Baldwin to the U.S. Senate last fall? After the disappointment of last June's recall, some tried to make us believe that Wisconsin would never again elect a labor-friendly leader in a statewide race. Those cynics were wrong. To paraphrase Mark Twain, the rumors of our death are greatly exaggerated. Not only are we still helping good people win important races, we're doing it successfully all over the state. In local elections, we are changing the face of government. One city council, one county board, one school board at a time. This not only helps our brothers and sisters who work for local government, it's sowing the seeds of the future victories. Let's all remember, Tammy Baldwin started her political career winning a seat on our local county board. One of our members could be the next Tammy Baldwin. For example, your Vice President, Leah Lipska. She just won election to her local school board in April. She wasn't alone. AFSCME members stepped up and won seats all across the state. And AFSCME endorsed candidates won better than 80% of the races they were involved in. Many of these races are decided by a handful of votes. And that's where having an AFSCME endorsement makes all the difference. When we work together and work the phones, pass out literature, and talk to our friends and neighbors about worker-friendly candidates, we can get the next Tammy Baldwin elected to a local office. And who knows, maybe that sends the next Scott Walker to a defeat that makes him lose his taste for politics. Lord knows what other form of suffering such a person might try to unleash on the world, but you've got to hope it's going to be less destructive than what he would do in public office. In fact, we've been so successful in helping good candidates get elected to local office that Walker and his minions in the Capitol are spending a lot of time this spring trying to take power away from local officials and courts and whomever and whatever might try to get in their way. They want to control everything, and we're not going to let them. You wouldn't be here if you were not fully committed to the fight. I salute your commitment. And on behalf of your board and your staff and all who care about the future of Wisconsin, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for all you've done to help fuel the largest popular uprising in Wisconsin's history. I want to thank you for all you are doing today to keep your fellow workers engaged in the fight. And thank you for all you will do tomorrow, next week, next month, next year, to keep us fighting and winning. I know it's not easy. Every time I visit a work site and talk to our members, I know that Scott Walker has put people in a terrible bind. And it's not by accident, it's all by design. He's forcing people to choose between paying their rent or paying their union dues or tithing to their church or buying shoes for their kids. Let me tell you a little story. A few weeks ago when I was on the Sly program, you know, Sly, whose old employer tried to silence him, and fortunately the community rose up and a new station hired him in Monroe, 93.7, and I would encourage you to go to Sly's office and you can listen to him live or his podcast because every day he tells our story. Well, anyway, a few weeks ago on Sly's show, a woman calls in. She's absolutely distraught, and you can hear in her voice just how hard this is for her to do. She just called to share what's happening to her life since Walker dropped the bomb. She's a longtime state employee, a single mom. She was just getting by as it was before the politicians rocked her world. Now she had to move into an apartment that makes her ashamed to have guests. Before she lost her workplace rights and had her take-home pay slashed, she could take some pride in working for the state. Walker took much more than her money. He took her dignity. Now she feels her life has been ruined. She felt she had no future. It comes down to her sticking with the union or making incredible sacrifices. It's an awful choice. It's an embarrassment to this once great state. But it's where we are right now. Well, you know what? She's sticking with her union, and you know what else? We're sticking with her. We're not going to rest until we restore to this woman and thousands like her the dignity and economic justice she deserves. Your union will do whatever it takes. We will not stop. We will never stop. Yes, we've got cutthroat politicians trying to turn state workplaces into sweatshops. What's next? Are we going to turn Beloit into bloody Bangladesh? It's an outrage. It's a moral travesty. But this will not stand. This is not the Wisconsin that we know, and this is not what most of our fellow citizens want to see. Too many of them have been tricked into believing that the divide and conquer lies of a slick politician. But she can fool some of the people some at a time, but she cannot fool Wisconsin voters all the time. We're not a punitive people. We don't want to ruin the lives of working people. Some of our neighbors have been misled, and it's up to us to set the record straight. We need to tell our story. We need to talk about the terrible choices being forced on honest, hardworking people by the political ambitions of a megalomaniac governor. We need to stand tall. There's a reason he wants us out of the way. He knows that workers who are organized are the only obstacle standing in the way of his towering ambitions. He's tried to make us go away, but here we stand, united, unbowed, unbroken. Our work has been made more difficult, but we've never, ever backed away from hard work. Just ask the people who take care of our aging veterans at King Veterans Home. These selfless souls have been bullied and pushed around by an arrogant and out-of-touch administration. Many good workers have had enough of it and left, but those who remain know that their work is important, too important to allow the governor's wrecking crew to ruin it. But because so many workers have been driven off, those who remain are faced with unsustainable amounts of overtime. Last summer, short staffings got so bad that some workers hardly had time to see their own families. Local 555 members got together and fought back, and Council 24 joined them in calling attention to the horrible disservice that was being done to our veterans. Together we called out management. We brought media attention to the problem. We got legislators involved. And after first denying there were any problems, the administration finally had to admit that they needed to step up recruitment. They started holding job fairs, and the governor even put additional positions into his budget. For a while, things got a little better at King. Overtime started going down, but the market started to speak. The constant devaluing of state service is having an impact. Like a lot of public employers who are demanding much more and paying much less, vacancies are sitting vacant as would-be workers find other jobs that don't require the unrelenting overtime. And with summer coming and existing workers expected to start taking some much-needed vacation time, another spike in overtime is already happening at King. The problem is, Walker's pay cuts and attacks on workers have made it hard to find anybody who will work under the current conditions. That's why we continue to push for a meaningful across-the-board pay raise for all frontline workers. This is why we continue to work to force the bosses to listen to the workplace concerns of CNAs and support staff at King. We'll continue to fight to solve this problem. Our veterans deserve nothing less, but the real solution lies in restoring workers' rights and a decent standard of living for all frontline workers. We're not going to get there tomorrow. We're not going to get there until we send the current pack of worker-bashing politicians packing. But you know what? We'll get there. Meanwhile, we continue to fight, just as we fight to protect the workers at the UW hospital and clinics. Unless we can force the hospital to change course and join us in working to change the law, our fellow members with Local 1942 will lose their rights when their contracts expire. Because of Act 10, they will no longer be able to bargain or to organize. They'll have no civil service protections, no coverage under the National Labor Relations Act, no place at the table. Because they work for an authority and aren't considered state workers, UW hospital employees will have less rights and protections than Walmart workers. We've joined with SEIU and AFT in mounting a concerted multi-front campaign to stand strong for 5,000 union jobs. And you'll be hearing much more about this in the coming year. And at the UW system, we're fighting to inject the workers' viewpoint into that ivory tower. UW administrators have been unleashed to rewrite the personnel policies. It's not easy to pound common sense into that Byzantine academic bureaucracy, but we're working from within and from outside to try to pressure them to do the right thing. Fortunately, we have your president, Paulette Feld, well acquainted with the way the system works. Sister Paulette has been leading the charge and helping to make changes wherever changes can be made. Now, before I close, I just wanted to take a moment to welcome some people who might be coming to their first council convention. It was after last year's convention that we welcomed nearly 900 new members who came to us from the former WEAC Council 1. Our new members are primarily education professionals who teach in state facilities and work at the Department of Public Instruction. They're a great fit because they already work side by side with AFSCME members. We're proud to have them with us in our newly chartered Local 2931. Our union continues to evolve and adapt to the ever-changing landscape. You don't exist more than 80 years without meeting new challenges with creativity and determination. Sometimes our victories are small, unnoticed except by maybe one person who beat back some unfair discipline or an unfounded accusation. And sometimes our victories affect a single classification of workers or one or two work sites. But sometimes our victories change history. Sometimes they come on the picket line where thousands gather. Sometimes they happen because one old woman stood up, a mop in one hand and a bucket in the other, and chose to take a stand. We're never going to win every battle, but we will win. We need to remain engaged in the fight and engaged in that fight together. I can't tell you how proud I am that I have the honor of engaging in this fight at your side. I thank each and every one of you for your commitment to this union, to each other, and to this great state, and stand in solidarity one day longer, one day stronger.